This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. And for today's show, obviously you know what Friday shows have consisted of for the last 19 weeks, last 20 weeks, I guess you could say. We make our picks for the NFL games, all right? Only 2 games to talk about, but we're going to be making picks for Jags, Pats, Vikings, Eagles. I almost said Vikings and Saints. Still got my mind on that other one. But no, we got Vikings, Eagles. We're going to do those picks for the second and third segments, all right? As always, we're going to start off with some NBA. We're going to talk about the games going on from last night. Have a few thoughts about the All-Star game. Pretty much, just going to give some thoughts on it. So like I said, after we do the scores for the games yesterday, we'll talk about the All-Star game a bit. And then for that fourth segment, we'll make our picks for the games tonight. Not sure how many games we got going on. Let me double check. Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games going on tonight, unless my math is bad. But yeah, we're making picks for those in the fourth segment, and then talking about pretty much anything else that comes to mind as far as sports goes, or any other news that breaks during the show. All right, because that's what we do. We give you the news for sports. All right, so let's start off with the first game from last night. Turns out the Boston Celtics aren't that good of a team without Kyrie Irving. All right, Philadelphia 76ers headed into Boston, and the Sixers won 89-80. Game wasn't as close as the score shows. Dario Saric had 16 points, shot 6 of 14, 2 of 5 from the three-point line, had 6 rebounds. Joel Embiid, big game from him, 26 points, 6 assists, 16 rebounds, shot 10 of 19. And then you had Ben Simmons with 8 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists also. He shot 4 of 9. As for those Boston Celtics, you had Al Horford with 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot 5 of 11. Jason Tatum only 11 points, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 11. Marcus Smart 13 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 6 of 11. And Jaylen Brown didn't have a good game either. Only 12 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. He shot 4 of 12. Off the bench, you had Marcus Morris with 14 points, 6 rebounds. And Terry Rozier, bad game from him. Only 4 points, shot 2 of 7. 0 of 4 from the three-point line. So yesterday I was watching this game, and there's one thing that you could really notice with Kyrie Irving not there. Like, there's no player on the Celtics besides Terry Rozier who knows how to handle the ball really as a true point guard, who knows how to facilitate, knows how to keep the spacing, knows how to move the ball around. All right. Kyrie Irving obviously is going to go ISO sometimes. He's going to get his, but makes the offense run a lot smoother, and he gives other guys opportunities. All right. Sometimes yesterday you'd have Jason Tatum bringing the ball down the court. You'd have Marcus Smart, maybe Jaylen Brown, and like I said, Terry Rozier. But none of them really, like Terry Rozier is probably the second best one as far as pretty much running an offense on that team. But he's the backup point guard, so you'd expect that. All right. But as far as like Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I mean, they really struggled. And Boston really struggled too with ball movement. All right. There was a lot of ISOs, a lot of spot up threes, bad shots. All right. Bad turnovers, too. I think they had up to 15 turnovers in the first half, I think. Maybe a little bit more. I can't remember the exact number. But they were turning the ball over, playing sloppy, all right. Was letting the 76ers players back cut them the entire time on defense. So really just couldn't put it together at all. I mean, it was a good game from Philadelphia, though, to take advantage of Kyrie Irving not being out there. I mean, they led the whole game. All right, we're up by 20, I think, at one point in the late third quarter. And like I said, they just really never took their foot off the gas pedal. So, like I said, I mean, Celtics really not that good of a team without Kyrie Irving. But, I mean, also, what team is good, still good without their best player? Besides the Warriors, of course, because they're the only exception to this. I mean, you got one of the best point guards in the game. You got probably arguably one of the best players in the game. All right, one of the greatest shooters on your team. And then you got Draymond Green, who does everything well. So, I mean, the Warriors are like the only team where you could take out Steph Curry, they'll still win a bunch of games. Take out Kevin Durant, they'll still win a bunch of games. All right. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, just really not news that one team doesn't play well with their best player. But, I mean, it was ugly on offense. As for the next game, Cleveland finally snapped their 4-game losing streak to the Orlando Magic, but they ended their 4-game losing streak by beating the Orlando Magic. Cleveland won that one 104-103. Aaron Gordon had 17 points, 11 rebounds. He shot 7 of 20, 2 of 10 from the three-point line. Evan Fournier had 17 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 6 of 15. Jonathan Simmons, 16 points, shot 5 of 10. Bismack Biyombo had 4 points, 10 rebounds. And then you had Elfrid Payton with 19 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 9 of 17 in that one. As for those Cleveland Cavaliers, you had Kevin Love with 12 points, 11 rebounds, shot 3 of 10, 1 of 6 from the three-point line. Jay Crowder, 10 points, 5 rebounds, shot 4 of 5. LeBron had 16 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 7 of 16. Isaiah Thomas, 21 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 6 of 15, 3 of 10 from the three-point line. And then you had J.R. Smith with 6 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, shot 2 of 7. All right, so I saw a quote from Tyronn Lue saying that when the team goes cold, meaning the Cavs offense, obviously, Kevin Love needs a bigger role for that when they go cold, all right? Isn't that his job to make happen? As the coach, aren't you supposed to say, hey, if we go cold or we're not shooting the ball well, get Kevin Love more involved? I mean, I'm not sure really how good of a coach Ty Lue really is, if we're being honest here, right? He did win a championship with the Cavs. That was the year after they fired David Blatt, or the year they fired David Blatt mid-season, I think, but like, there's always been, LeBron's the coach, LeBron's the GM. But, I mean, as far as LeBron coaching the team, I don't think that's too far off. I think Ty Lue really needs to step it up a bit and take over this team. All right, that's probably one of the biggest problems right there, is that he's not really too hands-on, maybe. Because, like I said, when he says, like, Kevin Love needs a bigger role when the Cavs go cold, yeah, you're the one who's supposed to make that happen. All right, you're supposed to be the one that game plans for that. So, I mean, it really makes no sense. I mean, the Cavs they just barely beat a bad Magic team, 104-103, snapping a 4-game losing streak. I mean, the Cavs really, even with this win, are just not really showing up too well. I mean, like I said, LeBron had only 16 points, 5 rebounds, shot 7 of 16. Isaiah Thomas still can't shoot the 3 ball, still trying to figure out get his legs right. All right, and I'm not sure if, like, that's the thing too. People are saying that the Cavs are going to play in the finals. There's no doubts because, you know, once Isaiah gets his legs back, gets his hip all completely healed up, they'll be fine. How do we know that Isaiah Thomas is going to be back to who he was last season? All right? Hip injuries, especially for a 5'9" guard, are not the best things that can happen. All right? He needs his legs, especially as far as, like, jumping up enough to shoot the ball, getting through the paint to get to the hole. I mean, are we really sure that Isaiah Thomas is going to come back and be the player that he was last year? I'm not too sure, and I don't think it's going to happen. And even if he is, I mean, you still got to worry about the defensive factor, okay? Like I've said before, you bring in a guy like DeAndre Jordan, that's not going to change things. Yeah, you'll get a few more rebounds, but, I mean, who's going to guard on the perimeter? Not Isaiah Thomas, J.R. Smith, no. Jay Crowder's all right. All right, LeBron refuses to guard the best player on the opposing team for some reason. I'm not sure why. All right, and then you get a guy like Kevin Love who can't guard either. All right, and I'm not even sure if like a trade for DeAndre Jordan's even going to happen. And like I said before, if you bring in a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, that's not going to change anything either. That's just going to hold back the team even more because he doesn't fit into their play style, I feel. So right now, I mean, the Cavs, even with this win against the Magic snapping their 4-game losing streak, I still don't believe in the Cavs right now. I still don't think they're playing good basketball. So that's just how I feel about that. All right. As for the Houston Rockets, they got James Harden back. Houston beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 116-98. For Minnesota, you had Taj Gibson with 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 4 of 7. Andrew Wiggins had 16 points, 5 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Karl Anthony Towns, 22 points, 16 rebounds, shot 10 of 19. Jimmy Butler, 23 points, 4 rebounds, shot 8 of 15. Jeff Teague, only 6 points. Off the bench, you had Tyus Jones with 13 points. He shot 5 of 8. As for the Rockets, you had Luke Mbamute with 14 points, 5 rebounds. I think I got that last name right. Shot 5 of 9. Ryan Anderson, only 6 points. Clint Capella, 20 points, only 5 rebounds in this one. That's surprising right there. He shot 7 of 9. Chris Paul had 19 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, shot 6 of 12. James Harden, his first game back from that hamstring injury, he had 10 points, 7 assists, shot 3 of 15. Just not a good game from him. Might be some rust or Just might be a bad game altogether. Off the bench, you had Eric Gordon with 30 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot 11 of 19 and 7 of 13 from the three-point line. As for the Indiana Pacers, I think I got every pick yesterday. I think I got every pick wrong, except for the Cavs. I got the Celtics pick wrong. I think I picked the Timberwolves yesterday, and I think I picked the Pacers too. Not a good day for picks. You had Thaddeus Young. Oh yeah, like I said, Portland beat Indiana 100-86. You had Thaddeus Young with 10 points, 14 rebounds, shot 5 of 12. Bojan Bogdanovic had 8 points, shot 3 of 10. Domantas Sabonis, 9 points, 10 rebounds, shot 4 of 9. Then you had Darren Collison with 23 points. He shot 9 of 14, only 3 assists from him. Victor Oladipo, 23 points, 7 rebounds, but he did have a bad shooting night. 9 of 25 and 1 of 9 from the three-point line. As for the Portland Trailblazers, you had Damian Lillard with 26 points, 8 assists, shot 8 of 21. Evan Turner only 2 points in that one. CJ McCollum had 16 points. He shot 6 of 18, 4 of 10 from the three-point line. Joseph Nurkic, 19 points, 17 rebounds. He shot 8 of 14. Off the bench, you had Shabazz Napier with 13 points, 4 rebounds. He shot 4 of 12. And Ed Davis had 8 points off the bench. Once again, the Portland Trailblazers beat the Indiana Pacers. All right, so I got a few thoughts on All-Star games and players being mad because they got snubbed or didn't make it. All right, this is how I feel about pretty much every All-Star game. The NFL Pro Bowl, all right, the MLB All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game. It doesn't matter. All-Star games don't matter. I'd be totally fine if they got rid of them. I don't understand why players get so mad about not making an All-Star game, okay? It doesn't have any say on what kind of player you are or who's better than you or anything like that. I saw that Damian Lillard was looked like he was kind of frustrated talking to the media, or I think it was his Twitter or something like that, where he was frustrated because he didn't get picked as an All-Star starter, I believe. Get over it, dude. It's just an All-Star game. It's a popularity contest. All-Star games mean absolutely nothing. I can't stand All-Star games. All right, because then we have reporters, writers, and everyone else arguing, oh, this person got snubbed. This person should have made it. And I hate when analysis try and bring up All-Star appearances as a case to make for someone, like their status as a player, all right? I don't care if they made the All-Star game. Lonzo Ball got a bunch of votes. He could have made the All-Star game. Do we think Lonzo Ball is truly an All-Star point guard? Really? Do we really think that in the West? All right, we got Damian Lillard who's better than him, Steph, Westbrook, Chris Paul. What other point guards do we got? Lonzo Ball. Is Lonzo Ball really the 6th best point guard? I'm going to have to go team by team. Let me pull up the standings. This might be crazy. All right, so Golden State, I'll take Steph. I'll take Chris Paul. I'll take, like I said, I'll take Russell Westbrook. I'll take Damian Lillard. Dude, Lonzo Ball might be the 6th best point guard. 1, 2, 3, 4. Might even be the 5th best point guard in the West right now. That is brutal. Yeah, I think he is. Wow. No, I'll take Dennis Smith over him. But even still, all right, All-Star games don't matter. All right, doesn't matter if you're picked, selected, or anything like that. All right, stop bringing up All-Star games as a matter of a player's status, trying to argue, all right, this player won a bunch of championships. Well, this player had 10 All-Star appearances. Doesn't matter, all right? The fans just pick them. Fans pick who they want to see. All right, I can't stand All-Star games. Never will like them. And like I said, I'd be totally fine if they got rid of them. I mean, the dunk contest, the three-point contest, all those little activity stuff that they do before the All-Star game, like on Saturday and Friday, those are cool. All right, but I could do without the All-Star game on Sunday. Same with the NFL and the Pro Bowl. I could do without that. I could do without the MLB All-Star game. I could do without the NHL All-Star game. Doesn't matter. They don't mean anything whatsoever. All right? Let me put that in your heads. All-Star games mean absolutely nothing. All right. So now that I went on that little rant, that's actually going to wrap it up for this segment. Like I said, in the 4th segment, we'll be talking about making my picks for the NBA games tonight. But next up, we're going to be talking. Do we want to talk? Let's talk Jags Pats, because I think that's the most intriguing game of the weekend for everyone. So we'll talk Jags Pats, and then for the 3rd segment, we'll be talking Vikings Eagles, and then for that 4th segment, as we'll be making our picks, after that, we're going to talk about the state of the NFL as far as quarterbacks go. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Now, last time we talked about the NBA games from Thursday night. Celtics lost to the 76ers, the Cavs beat the Magic, the Rockets beat the Timberwolves, and the Trailblazers beat the Pacers. All right, like I said, fourth segment we'll be talking and making my NBA picks for the games going on Friday night in the fourth segment. All right, but now we're going to talk some NFL. We're going to talk AFC Championship game first. Next segment, we'll talk NFC Championship game. All right, let's get on with it. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into Foxborough, facing off with the New England Patriots. As you've probably noticed, everyone is taking the Patriots. All right, most people I've seen on ESPN, Fox Sports, all those good media sites, news outlets, whatever you want to call them, already have the Patriots in the Super Bowl. All right, it's a done deal. The only game they're really thinking about is the Vikings and Eagles game. I don't understand why. All right, and again, I might be picking the Patriots too, but it's not set in stone. The Patriots have not won this game yet, and you know what? Tom Brady struggles against defenses like this. So, let's get into it now. Let's talk matchups. It's looking like Jalen Ramsey might be covering Gronk in this game. Okay, that's what he's been talking about. It's like Gronk hasn't faced a cornerback like him. That's one thing I like about Jalen Ramsey, too. He just talks. He's a talker. All right, he's the best cornerback in the league right now, and he backs it up with his talk. Or he backs up his talk with his play. All right, so that's one thing I like about him. But like I said, Gronk versus Jalen Ramsey, I'm kind of iffy about that matchup. I'm not sure how much I like it. All right. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey talks a lot, but are you sure you're going to be able to back it up against a guy like Rob Gronkowski? If I was Jacksonville and Doug Marrone, I'd be putting Telvin Smith on Rob Gronkowski and having a guy like Sean Gibson or Barry Church help shadow and double up Gronk too. All right, I'm not sure how strongly I feel about Jalen Ramsey being matched up with Rob Gronkowski in this one. I'm not saying like it's going to be like Jalen Ramsey just shadows Gronk the entire time, but there are going to be points where he's going to have to cover him. I feel, and I feel like he's more useful covering a guy like Brandon Cooks. All right, because if you saw last week, A.J. Bouye struggled against a guy like Antonio Brown, and Cooks has that speed to where he can get behind you. All right, so if I'm the Jags, like I said, I'm putting a linebacker on a Gronk, and I'm having a safety come up and help with him too. All right, but who knows what they're going to do. All right, as far as Tom Brady goes, like I said yesterday, he's been dealing with a little hand injury. Missed practice on Thursday. Says he's going to be fine. He'll play and stuff like that. But how sure are we that this hand injury isn't going to be bothering him against the Jaguars? All right. I think he accidentally ran into a player and his thumb got swollen or something like that. Last time I checked, you do need your thumb to throw the football. And if you need your thumb to throw anything, I feel. All right. If your thumb isn't feeling all right, then there's going to be some discomfort. All right, so as far as Tom Brady and this whole hand injury, I'm sure he's gonna play, no doubt, or anything like that. All right, there's no doubt about him playing. It's the AFC Championship game. But is this gonna limit him? I don't think so. But if we see Tom Brady wearing gloves on both of his hands on Sunday against the Jags, that's gonna tell me that it's still a problem. All right, so Tom Brady and his old injured hand. It's probably more of a non-story than it is a regular story, but it's something to look at. All right. And now let's talk real matchups, all right? Let's talk Leonard Fournette versus the Patriots defensive line and linebackers. Obviously, if Bill Belichick is as smart as we all think he is, he knows that he's going to have to stack the box against Jacksonville. He's going to have to force Blake Bortles to beat him with his arm. All right, I'm not too sure even if they do stack the box, if that's going to be enough to stop Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette is, how you say, a grown man. All right, that's someone that you couldn't pay me $100 to try and tackle Leonard Fournette. I wouldn't do it. Actually, you know what? I might. But actually, no, I probably wouldn't because Leonard Fournette is a scary dude. All right, he's a big, strong running back. Reminds me a little bit of Adrian Peterson. All right, I'm not saying that Leonard Fournette is Adrian Peterson or anything like that. He just reminds me of him, all right? Leonard Fournette's got speed and he's got power. I'm not sure if James Harrison and that defensive line is going to be able to get in front of Fournette and be able to stop him play after play. All right, I still think Leonard Fournette in this game, even with the stack box, is going to be able to go for at least 100 yards. All right, and if the Patriots can't stop Leonard Fournette, they're in trouble. All right, obviously, they have Tom Brady on this side, and we're going to talk about him too, minus the hand injury, because obviously we got to talk matchup still. But, like I said, Blake Bortles, it's like the same thing as last week, okay? Blake Bortles, don't do too much. All right, you don't need to go out and win this game, put the team on your shoulders or anything like that. You need to go out, you need to be average, like last week. All right, that was the biggest thing last week. That's the biggest reason why the Jags, one of the biggest reasons why the Jags won, is because Blake Bortles was just average and he didn't hurt the team. Last week he completed about like 14 out of his 26 passes, had 214 yards throwing the ball and then a touchdown. Also took off the ball a few times and had 35 yards rushing. I think he took off with the ball like 5 times, I think. All right, so like I said, he had 35 yards rushing. Blake Bortles in this game, like I said, you don't need to throw for over 300 yards. You don't need to throw for 3 touchdowns. This game right here is going to be a low-scoring game. All right? I don't think it's going to get over I don't think it's going to hit over 20, honestly. I don't know, I might be shortchanging it a little bit. Let's see. I don't know. I'll come up with my final score prediction as I'm done doing analysis on this preview for the game. All right, so like I said, Patriots defense, Bill Belichick, got to stack the box. But even then, I'm not too sure that you're going to be able to stop Leonard Fournette. Blake Bortles, look for TJ Yeldon constantly like you did last week, all right? If you got a guy like D.D. Westbrook or Marquise Lee open, throw it to them. Otherwise, hold on to the ball. Just do not turn the ball over. All right, you cannot give the Patriots opportunities to capitalize on. All right, you can't be throwing interceptions. You can't be fumbling. All right. So like I said, I mean, the Jaguars wide receivers against the Patriots defensive backs, this all really, everything that has to do with throwing the ball just comes down to Blake Bortles. I mean, you can do all you want to get open, but it's just a matter of Blake Bortles being able to get the ball to you. All right? Blake Bortles, even if he plays well in this game, I mean, I'm not really sure I see the Jacksonville Jaguars bringing him back next year. I feel like they've been winning a lot in spite of his play, and he's been holding them back. I mean, if Jacksonville had like a quarterback about a little bit better than Blake Bortles, then they'd probably be I don't think they'd be the favorites against the Patriots, but I don't think that people would be counting out the Jaguars as much because people are looking at this matchup as if it's just Tom Brady versus Blake Bortles, and I get that completely because that's what the NFL has been the last, decade or so, a little bit more. It's been quarterbacks versus quarterbacks, I feel. But, I mean, that's going to tie into my point I have to make in the fourth segment. But like I said, I mean, it's not just Blake Bortles versus Tom Brady. This is more than that. This is Leonard Fournette versus the Patriots front seven. This is Rob Gronkowski versus a guy like Jalen Ramsey. All right, let's go talk defense. Jags defense versus Patriots offense. Okay. Oh, and I just got a notification right now that Tom Brady is currently questionable for the game against the Jags on Sunday. Do we feel like Bill Belichick might be messing with us a little bit with this whole injury report thing? I mean, obviously, we all have to know that Tom Brady is playing. There's no way Tom Brady would not play in this game, right? I don't know. I think Bill Belichick is just trying to mess with us now. But like I said, going back to it, now we got the Jacksonville Jaguars defense versus the Patriots offense. I've said it all week. I'm going to say it again today. Tom Brady struggles under pressure. Struggles mightily. Not that, oh, it's a big game pressure. That, oh, wow, Calais Campbell's in my face pressure. What do I do? All right, that's been the biggest downfall to Tom Brady's quarterback play is he struggles big time against defensive line pressure. And I haven't really paid too much attention to New England's offensive line, but I know that they're not one of the best in the league, okay? And I know that Jacksonville probably has the best defensive line in the league. You know what that means? That means the Jags defensive line is going to play well, I feel. All right, and like I said, as far as Rob Gronkowski, if it's me, I'm putting Telvin Smith or Miles Jack on him, having a safety come to double him, and doing my best to take Rob Gronkowski out the game. I still think Rob Gronkowski is going to go out and play well because obviously he's the best tight end in the game right now. Honestly, might be the best tight end of all time right now, if we're being real. All right, I know some people are going to say that's Tony Gonzalez right now, but I don't know. Rob Gronkowski is that good. So like I said, I mean, if it's me, I'm putting a linebacker and a safety on him, but it's looking like Jalen Ramsey is going to hold some of the responsibility for covering him. And really, when you match up unit for unit against Jacksonville's defense versus New England's offense, Jacksonville wins every one, besides, I guess, linebackers and tight end. All right, because if I'm choosing between the Jaguars' defensive backs versus the Patriots' receiving corps, I'm taking Jalen Ramsey, A.J. Bouye, Deshaun Gibson, and Barry Church every time. All right, like I said, A.J. Bouye, Jalen Ramsey, 2 top 5 cornerbacks in this league. Jalen Ramsey is probably the best cornerback in the league. I think I'd take Xavier Rhodes, Marshawn Lattimore over Bouye, so that makes Bouye probably the 4th best cornerback, unless I'm missing someone completely. But nonetheless, I mean, they're not playing. These two are, right? So like I said, I mean, I don't think Danny Amendola or Brandon Cooks are going to do much. Chris Hogan won't do a thing. I can guarantee you that. And, I mean, in order for them to be successful, they're going to have to run a lot of underneath routes. You're not getting anything deep whatsoever. All right, and even if they do run those underneath routes, I think that Jalen Ramsey and Bouye and those safeties are quick enough to get there before they can cause some damage. All right, and that brings me to my next matchup. Dion Lewis versus this front seven. I'll tell you this much. Dion Lewis is not running for more than 60 yards on the ground. And that's being generous, I feel. All right. Dion Lewis's production is going to have to come from how it did last week against the Titans. He's going to need to catch about 9 balls. Or last week he did catch around 9 passes, I think, for 79 yards. That's the only way I think he'll be productive this week. If he's out in the backfield catching passes, making whatever he can with it. All right. James White last week scored 2 touchdowns. I'm not sure the impact that he's going to have this week. I know Bill Belichick likes to have that little tiny, like that little X factor that no one really thinks about. Like last week, it was James White with his 2 touchdowns. All right. Earlier in the regular season, before he got hurt, it was Rex Burkhead in the goal line, always scoring those touchdowns. I'm not sure who it's going to be this week. Bill Belichick's going to need to be creative in order to get past the Jacksonville defense, okay? And like I said, Tom Brady, I don't really see him having the game he did last week. He had over 330 yards. I think it was around 300. I think it was 334 yards through 3 touchdowns. He's not getting over 300 this week. Maybe even less than 250 if we're being real here, okay? We got to understand, yes, it's Tom Brady. Yes, it's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But this, as the saying goes, defense wins championships. Okay? Defense. Always go with the defense. All right? That's what I've been sticking to with my picks so far in these playoffs. And I'm not sure who I'm going with yet. I'm still trying to analyze it and come up with a final pick. Right now, I could tell you I'm leaning towards Jacksonville, but with everything I just told you, New England does have the better coaching staff. They do have the best coach of all time. They do have one of the best quarterbacks of all time. All right? My beef isn't with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, all right? It's with how I think that the other players on offense are going to do. I don't see Brandon Cooks doing much. I don't see Danny Amendola doing much. Rob Gronkowski, it really just comes down to him, I feel, on that offense because he's the only one who I think could get past this Jacksonville Jaguars defense and actually put up some nice numbers. Dion Lewis, not sure how he's going to do. Not sure if he's going to be able to get past the quickness of a guy like Miles Jack or Telvin Smith as far as catching the ball at the backfield. Like I said, I don't expect him to rush for too many yards. I doubt he'll get over 60. And like I said, that's being generous. James White, he's not really one who's good running the ball. He is a nice little pass catching back. But like I said, I mean, it's the same problem with Dion Lewis. How are you going to be able to get away from guys like Miles Jack and Telvin Smith and their quickness? All right, and like I said, as far as the offense goes on Jacksonville, yeah, Bill Belichick's going to stack the box against Leonard Fournette and force Blake Bortles to beat him, but I'm not even too sure that this defensive line could limit a guy like Leonard Fournette. Yeah, they limited Derrick Henry last week, but Derrick Henry is not on the same level as Leonard Fournette. And as far as Blake Bortles goes, he's just got to be average again. Don't turn the ball over, and you'll be fine, I feel. All right, so you know what? I'm going to make my pick now. I think I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, everyone's been every ESPN writer I've seen has pretty much put the Patriots in the Super Bowl already. I don't think it's going to happen that way. Tom Brady's injured hand I think it might play a factor, but it's going to be on the back of his mind, I feel. It's got to be, obviously you're injuring it on Thursday, only 2 games of rest for it. It's got to be something, all right? So you know what? I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, they're going to come up with a good game plan and keep it close, but it's probably going to be more of like a 20 to 14 type of game, 20 to 17. Probably 2 touchdowns from Leonard Fournette, maybe a touchdown from Leonard Fournette and a touchdown from Blake Bortles, but I don't expect it to be too high scoring. If I had to go with a final score prediction, I'm going to go with 20 to 14, Jacksonville winning in the Super Bowl. All right, so we'll see how it all ends up, but that's my pick. Next up, we're going to be talking Vikings versus Eagles, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. And, you know, like, between segments, I like to check Twitter and stuff like that just to see if there's anything new popping up as far as, like, any news or notes that I could put on the show. Because, you know, you always want to pretty much be as informative as you can, all right? So I'm looking, and there's a lot of updates on Tom Brady's hand. And it's looking like it's more serious than we think it is right now. I mean, let's see. There's a Boston radio guy who said that there's no fracture or no torn ligament in his hand. It's just a cut from hitting the buckle on someone's helmet. He had 4 stitches around his knuckle. All right, so I feel like getting stitches on your hand around your knuckle, I feel like that's pretty serious, wouldn't it be? I feel like we're not making a big enough deal about it, and I'm not sure if it's just because we've grown accustomed to the fact that it's Tom Brady, but, I mean, he was limited in practice today on Friday. All right, if he was fine and the hand injury wasn't a problem, then I'm sure he'd be a full participant in practice. All right, he wouldn't be limited in Friday's practice a day before the Saturday, so a day before the game on Sunday. All right. So, I mean, this whole hand injury, I think that this is actually starting to become an actual problem. And you know Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they're never going to make a big deal out of anything, whether or not it is a big deal or not. So, I think that this might be a big deal here. All right, I think this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, I mean, in order to face off with a defense like this, the number 1 defense in the league, and maybe possibly one of the best defenses of all time, dare I go there? I think you need to be 100% ready to go. So, I mean, this whole Tom Brady hand thing, I mean, this might be a big deal. But I guess we're just going to find out when the game starts. Okay? So, let's get on with it. Minnesota versus Philly. In Philly. Winner gets a trip to the Super Bowl. And let me tell you this. I do not want to see a Patriots versus Eagles Super Bowl. All right, I got family members who are Eagles fans. I guess in spirit, I'll be rooting for the Eagles. All right, but I do not want to see that Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl right there where Tom Brady wins already before it's even snapped. The ball's even snapped. All right, unless I'm just I think my problem with the Eagles right now is still Nick Foles, all right? For most of the regular season, the quarterback I really wasn't too high about and was kind of, are we sure we trust him, was Case Keenum. I trust Case Keenum now. Nick Foles, I still can't get on the bandwagon. I really wish Carson Wentz was the quarterback still. I wish Carson Wentz didn't blow out his knee. If Carson Wentz doesn't blow out his knee, I'm riding with Philly the entire way, all the way up to the Super Bowl. And even if it was Philly versus New England with Carson Wentz facing off with Tom Brady, I'm taking Carson Wentz 10 times out of 10. But that's not how it is. And you know what? Nick Foles, since he's taken over, has gotten the job done. All right? Nick Foles, yeah, I know I'm probably not giving him enough credit, but he's done well to keep this team in the game, and he's pretty much done what Blake Bortles is needed to do. Just be average. Don't make mistakes. All right, don't turn the ball over. Just give us a chance. And Foles did that last week, and that's why they beat the Falcons. All right, he helped them get 15 points. All right, I know the kicker made 3 field goals last week. Jake Elliott, but you got to get the team downfield in order to get into field goal range. So he did that, Nick Foles, and he helped get him down near the goal line for LeGarrette Blount to run the ball in for a touchdown. All right, so you helped get him the 15 points. Then it was up to the defense after that, and the defense did their job. All right, so I mean, Nick Foles has done the job well enough to where he hasn't hurt the team. But here's the thing. After the Jaguars defense, who I have told you I ranked at number 1, it's the Vikings defense. Okay? And as far as these two teams go, these teams are basically looking at each other in the mirror. All right? Both quarterbacks that have never really done much in their NFL career before this, but both have done well enough to get their teams to where they are. All right? Both usually run, or both really out of the backfield go with 2 running backs as far as running back committee. All right, you'll see JJ out there, but you'll also see LeGarrette Blount get about 10 carries a game. All right, that's the same thing with Latavius Murray. He's going to get the majority of carries, but Jerick McKinnon is going to get around 10 carries a game also. As far as the receiving corps go, both have really solid tight ends, Kyle Rudolph and Zach Ertz. I'll take Zach Ertz over Kyle Rudolph. But as far as the wide receivers go, I'll take Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs every single day of the week over Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, and Nelson Aguilar. All right, but they're not like wide receiver is probably the only position between these two teams where the Vikings are miles ahead of the Eagles. All right. As far as defenses go, both got strong defensive lines, both got solid linebacking corps. All right, and both have nice secondaries. And I think that Minnesota probably does have a better secondary, but it's not by that much. The Eagles, they don't have the most talented superstar players, but they're extremely well coached. And I guess you could say that for the Vikings too. I mean, Jerick McKinnon, Latavius Murray, not the best running backs in the league by any notion. All right, Case Keenum really wasn't much before this year, and Stephon Diggs, he's been a pretty solid receiver so far in his NFL career. Adam Thielen, this is pretty much like his breakout year, unless I just completely forgot about him last year. All right, and then like I said, both defenses, I mean, that's their bread and butter right there, the defense for both teams, I feel. That's why they've made it this far. So, I mean, like I said, this is pretty much two teams looking at each other in the mirror. But let's talk matchups now. Let's talk how I feel about the game. All right, so you got Nick Foles, and obviously the Eagles' game plan for him is to have Zach Ertz run short routes, Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, all right, nothing too deep, and to have running backs run screens when need be. All right, last week, first half, you saw a lot of J.J. in the first half as far as running the ball and catching the ball at the backfield, and it worked well. All right, you got Nick Foles going, had him playing well. What I'm most scared about this game is I think that Minnesota's defense, I think Mike Zimmer, is he the one who calls plays for the Minnesota's defense? I'm not sure. I know Mike Zimmer's been a defensive-minded coach his whole career, so I think he might be, but not sure exactly. But whoever's calling the plays for the Vikings, I feel that they're going to call a lot of zone plays to where they're going to take away the underneath stuff, and they're going to force Nick Foles to beat him deep. That's what scares me the most about the Eagles, okay? If I knew that Nick Foles had a decent arm and that he can complete deep passes, then you know what? I'd probably go with the Eagles, but like I said, I can't trust him as far as throwing the ball more than 10 yards, more than 15 yards. I'm not sure if he could do that. The ball sells a lot. I mean, if you remember towards the end of the first half last week, I mean, he threw one, I think it was might have been to Torrey Smith or Alshon Jeffrey, but could have been an easy interception for the Atlanta Falcons safety, but he jumps up for some reason, and the ball knocks off his knee, hits off his knee, and then Aguilar, I believe it was, catches it, takes it down to midfield, all right? So, I mean, when you see throws like that and Nick Foles just really not attempting last game to throw the ball deep, it's kind of worrisome for me as far as deciding who I want to pick for this game. Again, I think that's going to be the biggest thing right there for Minnesota's defense. Take away the underneath stuff, all right? Take away Jay Ajayi catching the ball at the backfield on some screens, all right? Force Alshon Jeffrey to have to beat you deep, and take Zach Ertz out the game. Last week, Zach Ertz didn't really do too much. He only had 3 catches for 32 yards, and, I mean, if it wasn't for Steve Sarkisian, Atlanta probably wins that game. And I say Steve Sarkisian because, I mean, they only put up 10 points with Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Matt Ryan, Tevin Coleman, Mohamed Sanu. All right? That's an extremely better offense than Minnesota's if you're going talent for talent, player for player. But the thing about that is Minnesota's way better coached than the Falcons. Dan Quinn, great coach. Steve Sarkisian, below average offensive coordinator, right? But nonetheless, the Vikings are playing. And like I said, as far as Eagles on offense, I'm scared, you guys. I'm scared about Nick Foles. I don't trust him. Haven't trusted him since that Raider game. And he did well last week. But I think even if he puts up those numbers that he did last week, this week, I still don't think it's enough to beat the Vikings. All right? Vikings are pretty much like a team of destiny right now, all right? Super Bowl is at your home stadium. You beat the Saints on a miracle last play. And it's just how sports goes, you know? Like, it's not always logical, and it doesn't always work out the way you would think it would. But as far as this game goes, I mean, it's almost like the Vikings have to win this game, right? I think they do. And I'm not going to make my pick right now. I'm going to wait a few more minutes because I got more to say about it. But as far as Nick Foles goes, like I said, Philly really needs to figure out a way to where if Minnesota takes away those underneath routes, then Nick Foles can be successful a different way. And I'm not sure if it's through throwing the ball deep or figuring something else out. But they really got to have a backup game plan because I think that Minnesota knows. I mean, everyone has to know that if you want to beat Nick Foles, you got to take away the screens. You got to take away the underneath routes. So we'll see about that. As far as Jay Ajayi versus this Vikings defensive line in front seven, last week he ran for 54 yards, I believe it was. This week, I mean, I think it's going to be around the same. Vikings don't give up too many rush yards. Last week they did well to limit Kamara and Ingram, and those are both better backs than Jay Ajayi right now at this point in time. So, I mean, how much can you expect Jay Ajayi to really do against a defense like this? All right, as far as LeGarrette Blount, I mean, that's not really someone you need to worry about because he's only going to come in, I mean, like on 3rd and 1s, a goal line situation. So, if I'm Minnesota, don't let Philly get near the goal line, and you don't got to worry about LeGarrette Blount. All right. It's going to be interesting to see how Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, Nelson Aguilar do versus the secondary of Minnesota. All right, Xavier Rhodes is most likely going to be on Alshon Jeffrey. And if I had to pick Rhodes versus Jeffrey, I'm taking Rhodes every time because Rhodes is a top 5 cornerback in this league. If you remember last segment, I think I had him ranked 3rd in the league right now behind Lattimore and Ramsey. But, I mean, anything could happen. But like I said, I mean, I don't see it happening for Philly's offense, really. I think that's going to be the biggest problem. I think this game's going to come down to first team to score 14 wins, and I think that team is going to end up being the Vikings, all right? Because you know what? As of right now, Case Keenum has been playing better football at the quarterback position than Nick Foles. All right? These running backs, they don't run for too many yards, but they're productive. As far as the wide receivers go, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, both top receivers in the game. Adam Thielen, I think, is a top 10 receiver in this league. At least this year he was. Stephon Diggs always has that playmaking ability to do whatever he wants. As far as like Stephon Diggs could be a top 10 receiver in this league, but I think he just doesn't put it together consistently enough to be considered one. All right, but he's not far off. So like I said, I mean, you're taking a top 10 receiver in the league this year and a near top 10 receiver also against this Philly secondary, all right? I'll take Thielen and Stephon Diggs over Sanu and Julio Jones every day of the week. Obviously, yeah, Julio Jones is probably the 4th best, 3rd best receiver in this league, but it's just a matter of number 2 receivers, so that's why I got Stephon Diggs and Thielen over those two. It's a better, more well-rounded receiving core. All right, so like I said, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all ends up, but I trust the Vikings because the defenses are both going to play well. I trust the Vikings offense more than I trust Philly's defense, and I think that's why I'm going to end up going with the Vikings for this game. All right, like I said, it's going to be first 1 to 14 wins, and I think that's going to be the Vikings. Case Keenum has played well so far this season. Only 22. He scored through 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Last week did throw an interception, but also did have a touchdown and played well enough last week to keep him in the game in the fourth quarter when New Orleans was starting to come back on them. All right, so like I said, right now I'm going to go with the Vikings. I'm going to go with a score of like 17-10. It's going to be Minnesota winning. And I'd be extremely happy if we ended up with a Jacksonville Jaguars versus Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl. The NFL wouldn't, all right? But nonetheless, I mean, the NFL casual fans wouldn't because obviously you're not going to have a top quarterback in this game. But I love defense. I love running the ball. So we're going to see how it all ends up. But once again, I got the Minnesota Vikings beating the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 17-10, and I got Jacksonville facing off with Vikings in the Super Bowl. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about making my picks for the NBA. We're going to be talking about the state of the quarterback position in the NFL and how much longer it's going to be dominating the NFL. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Made my picks for both the AFC and NFC Championship games. I picked the Jags in the AFC and I picked the Vikings in the NFC. Hope I'm right. I can't. Patriots Eagles Super Bowl would just be brutal. All right. Actually, it wouldn't be that bad, but I don't know. I think the Patriots would already win that game. Like, they could be a good game, but we know who would come out as the winner. If we got like a Vikings versus Jags Super Bowl, we don't know who wins that game. Both have one has the best defense in the league, the other has the second best defense in the league. One has one of the best running backs in the league, the other one has one of the better receiving corps in the league. And then you got Case Keenum versus Blake Bortles. All right. And you know what? Let's start off talking about quarterbacks before we make my picks. All right, I talked about this on Tuesday's GSMC football podcast show, and now I want to share it with you guys. All right, so as we know, Tom Brady currently 40 years old. All right, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Phil Rivers. Am I missing anyone else? I don't think so. They all got probably about 2 more years, 3 years at the most left in their playing careers. Tom Brady wants to play till he's 45, but I just don't see that happening. All right, and even if it does, he's not going to be the same dominant quarterback that we've all known to come in either hate or love. All right, so let's say that they all retire within 3 years. No Brees, no Brady, no Roethlisberger, no Eli Manning, no Rivers. All right, that's the last of this past era's QBs. Now we got Aaron Rodgers left. All right, let's talk tiers, upper tier quarterbacks, first tier quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers. Who else after those guys leave? Honestly, it's not Matt Ryan. I'll tell you that. Matt Ryan is nowhere near Aaron Rodgers' level. Russell Wilson's good. He's great, but I don't think he's the quarterback that Aaron Rodgers is. How about Andrew Luck? Well, what's going on with that shoulder? All right, we don't even know if he's going to be back, when he's going to be back for this season, this upcoming one. He's got to go to Germany to get the Kobe Bryant treatment on his shoulder. All right, so what else do we have? Dak Prescott, only as good as if his running back is out there. Carson Wentz might be the next best thing, but blew out his knee in his second year. Are we sure he's going to come back and be better than ever with coming off of a major knee injury? All right, Deshaun Watson looked really good this season as a rookie, but blew his knee out. How well is he going to be? All right, and my biggest point right here is that after Brady and all those guys retire, Rodgers is the only true established quarterback that we have in the league. And yes, like I said, I know Russell Wilson is good, but he's just not on that Rodgers level. He can't do what Rodgers does. All right, maybe I'm just shortchanging Russell Wilson a little bit. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and throw Russell Wilson in with Rodgers. All right? But we still have nothing after that. We just have a bunch of quarterbacks who need to develop more and aren't on that same level. Like, we won't have any besides those two, and I guess you could throw Andrew Luck in there, but you're not sure how he's going to be because of his shoulder. So we have two true established quarterbacks after Brady and those guys leave. All right? Like I said, Matt Ryan's cool, but he was all right this year. He wasn't great by any means. Matt Stafford could be in that conversation with Rodgers and Wilson, but has no playoff success to show for his career so far. And I was talking with Tate before the show, before I did it. We were talking. He told me that Matt Stafford, after these guys retire, could end up putting up some performances that could put him in the Hall of Fame. And you know what? I believe it. All right. Matt Stafford already has Hall of Fame numbers. He needs the Hall of Fame moments. He needs to make the playoffs. He needs to make it to the NFC Championship. He needs to go to a Super Bowl in order to solidify him as a Hall of Fame quarterback. All right, he's not far off. He just needs to, like I say, just get those moments. All right, but like I said, I mean, everyone's complaining about the whole. We got Case Keenum, we got Blake Bortles, we got Nick Foles in the championship games. That's not going to change. It's gonna. I think football is starting to move more back to having a strong defense and a solid running game. All right, because these quarterbacks, they're good, but they're not game-changing good. And like I said, Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson probably are those two quarterbacks right there, but we got to see how they come off of these ACL injuries. All right, so I mean, Matt Ryan, probably just as good as the team around him. Then you got a guy like Derek Carr who didn't play well this season. I think that's more due to the fact that he fractured his back and it came back after only missing a week. All right. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be the new starting quarterback for the Chiefs. It's looking like no clue what he is. Broncos ain't got a quarterback. AFC East, I mean, Tom Brady's going to retire in a few years. Then what? Ryan Tannehill's your best quarterback. Not even sure if he's going to be there in 3 years because, you know what? If I'm Miami, this is Ryan Tannehill's last year to show that he could take him to the playoffs and do something. I mean, you can't just, I mean, I know Miami's gone through, 17 quarterbacks since Moreno left, but, I mean, you can't just fight for a wild card spot and that's it. Eventually, you have to start fighting for playoff spots and being an actual decent team in the playoffs instead of making it and getting blown out every game. All right? Bills don't have a quarterback. Jets don't have a quarterback. AFC South, like I said, you got Deshaun Watson. Marcus Mariota, he's going to be a quarterback who has a nice little career, but he's not a game-changing quarterback. All right, Blake Bortles, I don't think he's going to be back in Jacksonville next year. And then you got Andrew Luck, who you're not even sure how his shoulder is going to end up. Like I said, AFC North, Ben's going to retire in a couple of years. Andy Dalton, he's all right, not great. Joe Flacco, worst thing that could have happened to Baltimore was they win a Super Bowl with him. Cleveland hasn't had a quarterback since I've been born. NFC, let's go NFC South. Okay, Matt Ryan, yeah, pretty good quarterback. Cam Newton, yeah, but he's not Aaron Rodgers level or Russell Wilson level. All right, let's see. Jameis Winston, good quarterback, but makes way too many mistakes and not yet a great quarterback. Let's see. Saints going to need a quarterback in a couple of years. NFC East, Eli's going to be gone soon. Dak Prescott is a game manager at best. Carson Wentz could be the next biggest thing, but you got to see how he comes off of that knee injury. And then the Redskins, I mean, let's just talk about Kirk Cousins. He's a Marcus Mariota type. He's going to have a nice little career for himself, but not on Rodgers' level or Wilson's. Then you got the NFC West. That's where you got Russell Wilson. Jared Goff, young. Still got to see what he is. All right. Jimmy Garoppolo looks like he could be something special. We got to wait and see. We only got 6 games of him this year. And then now the Cardinals need a quarterback since Carson Palmer's retired. NFC North, that's where you got Rodgers. I mean, Bridgewater's probably going to be the starting quarterback for the Vikings next year unless they lock up Case Keenum to a long-term contract. You got Stafford, who just doesn't have the playoff success to be on the same level as a guy like Rodgers or Wilson. And then you got Mitch Trubisky, who could be something, could be just another decent quarterback. All right, so if you notice right there, there's only 2 quarterbacks in this league who are game changers, I feel. Wentz could be one. Luck is one when he's healthy, but not sure if he's ever going to be healthy again. All right, so we're going to start seeing these championship games, these playoff games where you know what? It's not quarterback versus quarterback anymore. It's team versus team, and I can't wait for it. I hate the whole, this quarterback, can he beat this quarterback? It's not how it's ever been. It's always been team versus team, and I think that this is what's going to get us back to that. So I'm very excited for it. The era of the game-changing quarterback, I think, is coming to an end. All right, this was like the last batch of great quarterbacks, talking about Brady, Roethlisberger, Breeze, Rivers, and all those guys. And eventually, we're going to have to see teams actually do something as far as building a complete team in order to win Super Bowls, all right? Because, I mean, like I said, look, we could have a Case Keenum versus Blake Bortles Super Bowl. We could have a Blake Bortles versus Nick Foles Super Bowl. All right, that doesn't sound right to you, but those are the best teams right now. All around. All around, these teams are all better than the Patriots. The only thing that keeps the Patriots at the top is Tom Brady. And like I said, eventually he's going to be gone. So we're just going to have to wait and see how it all ends up. But just got to give my 2 cents about those. Now, let's make some NBA picks for Friday night. First up, we got the Spurs facing off with the Toronto Raptors. Toronto's at home. They're 16-3 at home. Spurs are 11-14 on the road. That tells me all I need to know. No Kawhi Leonard, so I'm going with the Raptors in this one. Then you got the Miami Heat facing off with the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn's 9-15 at home. Miami's currently 14-9 on the road. Plus, they're the better team. Got the Heat in that one. All right. Then we got the Washington Wizards facing off with the Detroit Pistons. Detroit's been on a bit of a slide. Washington really hasn't played well. Washington's 10-11 on the road. The Pistons are 13-6 at home. I'm going with the Wizards in this one, though. I think they have to pull one out eventually. Then we got the Sacramento Kings facing off with the Memphis Grizzlies. This is going to be the worst game of the night. One of the toughest games to pick because both of these teams are bad. I'm going to go with the Kings in this one. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sacramento. They need to pick up a win at least. Then you got the Suns facing off with the Nuggets. Nuggets currently 16-5 at home. Suns currently 8-13 away. I'm going to go with the Nuggets in this one. Better team, better home record. Then we got the Knicks facing off with the Jazz. Knicks are currently 5-16 on the road. You got the Jazz who are currently 13-8. I'm going to go with the Utah's favored 5-5. This is a tough one. I think I want to go with the Jazz. Rudy Gobert is going to be back, so I'm going with the Jazz. That's tough. Then for the final game, we got the Indiana Pacers facing off with the LA Lakers. Not sure if Lonzo Ball's playing in this one. Not sure if this one's on ESPN. Let me see if I could double. Oh, nope. The Knicks and the Jazz are on ESPN. Brutal. I would have very much liked to see the Pacers and Lakers rather than the Knicks and Jazz. All right, so Pacers and Lakers. Pacers currently 10-11 on the road. Lakers currently 9-14 at home. Let's see. Is Lonzo Ball playing? Lakers are a completely different team when Lonzo Ball's out there. They will not have him playing Friday night. I got the Pacers, all right? So I got the Pacers beating the Lakers. Let me recap these picks. I got the Raptors beating the Spurs, the Heat beating the Nets, the Wizards beating the Pistons, the Kings beating the Grizzlies, the Nuggets beating the Suns, the Jazz beating the Knicks, and the Pacers beating the Lakers. All right, there's been 2 Fridays where I've gotten my picks right, but I haven't been able to brag about it because we don't do the GSMC Sports Podcast till Tuesday. So if I get these right, expect me to brag on Tuesday. All right, so that's actually going to wrap it up for today's show. This was a fun one throughout. We talked about the NBA games from last night and talked about the All-Star game a bit. In the first segment, made my picks for the AFC and NFC Championship games in the second and third segment. And then for this one, we talked about the state of quarterbacks in the NFL and made my picks for the games tonight in the NBA. Like I said, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. So we'll see you Tuesday. Stay tuned, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.